Welcome to the People's Guild. If you are invested in Splinterlands or if you are just curious about Splinterlands, then this podcast is for you.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode. We are honored to have one of the barons of many lands in the world of Splinterlands. The recent, correct me if I'm wrong, but champ tournament winner, champ at the inaugural Splinterfest. We got Brybro on to talk to the People's Guild today. Thanks for taking the time, Brybro. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Sorry. But yeah, I will correct you. It wasn't the champion tournament. It was the Gold League tournament. I can't claim that fame as I was Mr. D Tough stuff at the time, but I'll still take one of those titles. So I appreciate it.
Nice. You wear that belt out and about around town?
Nah, I wish I could say I do, but unfortunately I don't. If it was a little bit better, well-made belts, I think, because I remember talking to Chatter during the event, and he mentioned that they're aiming for like an actual like metallic belts, ones that you kind of see in those MMA fights that they wear over their shoulders. And then when they got them, they're like these little flimsy, just like just not a great belt at all. But I'll still take it. Like I said, it was the first Splinterfest, so there's
humble beginnings, bro. Humble beginnings.
Yeah, exactly. I still think it went great overall. I mean, I can't complain about 10 free plots too. So everything turned out great for me, at least.
Well, that's just like perfect timing, as you mentioned, land. And we tried to get this podcast a while ago, but actually I think it's to have it now and this week is perfect timing. The land 0.5 has all the details has just dropped, and you're actually our third big land baron that we've spoken to so far. We interviewed Cryptomancer and Matt Clark as well. So you're number 3. So it's going to be great to hear your perspective. I was just wondering, what was it that made you initially decide to buy 2 regions? What did you see in land, and what you initially saw? Are you still thinking along those same lines? Like, do you have that same vision, or has that vision changed?
Sure. So funny you asked that. When I first bought kind of the bulk of my land, I really didn't have a big vision for land. I didn't know what it was. I'll claim it as like my dumbest investment, but it's now by far probably my best investment that I don't think I'll be able to match again. Just because, so like when I got into the game at the time, it was last summer, so it was like June, and that's when Untamed was still for selling the game, and then land. But obviously, when I got in, I was all focused on cards because that was like the only thing you could use at the time. So I didn't bother about land at all. It was only until like a couple weeks since I've been playing, I joined a guild and kind of communicating with the guild members, and land was starting to get close to like its sellout. People it was starting to see just more and more plots get off the market. So people were anticipating it to like sell out. So that's when I started getting that FOMO. So it's kind of funny because so I started day one, not like day one when I first started playing the game, but the first day I bought land, I ended up buying 20 plots. I'm like, okay, 20 plots, I have 150,000. Like, this should cover me. That should be good enough. The second day, I just started seeing it like fly more and more. So I'm like, I got to get a little bit more. So I bought a tract. I'm like, tract should cover me. The third day, actually, there's I think just a little over 1,000 left, and I was like, that region's still available, so I ended up buying a region, and that's when I thought it was it. But so yeah, so basically from the market and game market, I only bought one region, one tract, and like 20 plots. Shortly after all the land sold out, there's like a period of time where everyone's like, all right, well, you can't use land. A lot of people were actually selling land for cheaper than the $20 because they probably got in during the pre-sale when it was like half that price, so either $10 or something. So I accumulated at least 40 to 50 more plots for like $15 each during that time. And then one of the biggest trades I did was for the second region. Is for a gold level type of decks. That's where a lot of like my beta cards came from. A lot of like Untamed were from this big trade. And it was like a gold level deck plus a region plus his like Praetorian title, all his totems, everything. He was kind of cashing out. So I'm like, this is a great time for me to get in. And it was a heck of a deal. I knew I could kind of flip either, like the region or the cards itself. I was going to take some time. And like I said, dumbest investment I think I'll ever do, but turned out for the best, at least, thankfully.
It's pretty
So I
much
know
paid
that was
for
a
itself,
lot.
and no, that's brilliant, man. We were actually talking off air before you hopped on, and we were trying to calculate. We couldn't remember if the in game market was selling plots for 10 or 20 bucks a piece. So you just clarified that for us. So, yeah, good stuff. So I've heard a couple of people say, and I'd love to hear you kind of put an asterisk on this or justify it. That throughout the airdrop and once the airdrop ended, obviously until land, I don't know when SPS payouts are going to be halted on for landholders, but correct me if I'm wrong. SPS has pretty much paid for your investment in lands over the
Yeah.
last year, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think land was probably the worst kind of payout when it comes to SPS airdrop. They didn't really value it as high as, collection power. No, I don't know if collection power is a good one, but like DEC, uh, based off like, the value of DEC at the time and how much weight it had. I think DEC was the biggest one. Land was just kind of like if you were to like invest into anything just to maximize your SPS airdrop, land was kind of the last thing to do because it just didn't have that much weight. But again, thankfully, due to like the amount that I have, I think I remember my first airdrop was around just a little under 6,000 SPS day one, and that's when SPS was trading for maybe like 80 cents. But I actually ended up staking all my SPS and kind of sucks because I just casually saw SPS drop as low as it is now, but I'm fine with it. I mean, I got pretty big bags in SPS, and it's all about the waiting game in my mind.
Yeah. Well, it's really like you said, you came in June 2021, right? So
Yep.
I came in like August, and I was like you, man. I just had the FOMO for land, but like, so at what time were you buying it for $15? Because I was buying it for I'm I'm gonna say $500 a pop.
Yeah, so I think
Like,
right when land sold out in game, which I think it's probably on like the road, not the roadmap, but on like the docs.splinterlands site, they typically have like a timeline, a history timeline, and I think they may have marked, when everything sold out in game. So I know Untamed's up there. I'm not sure if land is up there. I want to say it was probably end of June, at the latest. And I think instantly right after that that's when people were trying to get rid of it because again they didn't know what the value was at the time. They probably got in cheaper, so that's when it was like I just remember one deal, it was 30 plots for $15. And it was just funny because then the SPS airdrop, all that information came out and they saw that land had SPS weight to it. And so that same person actually reached out to me, was like, "Hey, can I get those plots back? Like, I don't want to sell them anymore because land, the price actually jumped from like 15 bucks to I think 100 the next day, just because there's actual value to it." So unfortunately, I think you got in just like after. You probably got in right when we boomed, which
yep.
unfortunate timing.
Yeah, no, because I was thinking then you were like FOMOing in. I thought you kind of buying similar time to me in that because I was trying to work out the maths, like if you had bought them in pre-sale, how much you must have dropped. But I was thinking then, well, if you're buying them similar prices to me, yeah, I got the FOMO, unfortunately, at that time. So it was really great to hear Matt talk about land in the recent town hall because I could just hear the excitement in his voice and I could really feel how important he believes land is for the whole economy. So, and like he said about how we are going to have to treat land as a real business. Is that how you're looking at it as well?
Yeah, I always consider it as like a whole new game. So I'm actually not even playing like ranked battles, tournaments anymore. I'm fully rented out. I do have a gold foil deck that there's only one account that I'll play every now and then. But for the most part, I'm just renting out because I want that DEC like income to start just preparing for everything. Anyways, though, like I always imagined right when LAN came out, I would not play battles anymore because I foresee land just kind of being so much between managing your land workers, upgrading buildings, deciding on what land plots to focus on, all that stuff. It's going to be like a second job really, and also depending on how much they can automate versus how much manual interaction there will be. Yeah, I knew it was going to be big, and it's like it's its own economy, which like that's why I'm salty like everyone else. I would have thought it would have taken a little bit more priority, just because, like you just mentioned, Matt was saying how much they kind of built the economy in a way that it is very kind of inventive or innovative in his words. Just because everything is backed by DEC, and so that should get it closer to the peg price, but there's not that much demand for DEC right now. And I think land is like has always been the key to making the demand just go to where it should be. Because just between all like landowners, like I think I'm gonna need at least like 10 billion DEC just to get anywhere close to where I want my land to eventually be. Um, but that's the thing. So I've been waiting for it. I think now I may honestly be late with accumulating all the DEC, but I also think it's going to be kind of like it's kind of like how the ranked battles are collection wise. You're not technically supposed to just buy all max cards from day one and be at the top. It's just it's going to take time to get to where you want to be, and so I'm trying to prepare as much as I can right now. I don't expect to maximize everything right off the bat, but I'm definitely preparing just so I can at least maximize, maybe some of my legendary plots, some resources that are rare, all that good stuff, and I'll just build on top of that.
Well, it sounds like you've given a little bit of an opening to the next Splinterfest tournament and possibly bowing out. You're going to be very rusty at that point in time when it comes to battle. So for anybody vying for that premium belt from Chatter, there's your opening. So what is it about land and the conversation from like Wasco? I was very tuned into the town hall on earlier this week, and yeah, it felt like the community was buzzing. Everybody was pumped. Nobody, I think everybody was kind of expecting another delay, and then the layoffs came, and then everybody was sure we were going to get another delay, and it was a very pleasant surprise to get a couple of big things this week and kind of the final push of development before the holiday break. So what is it on, so we also got kind of a timeline of between now and Q4 next year for, kind of land coming into full fruition. So what is it on that timeline, Brybro, that you're kind of, most looking forward to? What do you think is really going to be the point in time that we flip the switch on land and the community starts shifting fully towards that?
Probably not until you can actually survey your land. I think map location doesn't really mean anything right now because we have zero information. I think a lot of people, I mean, like myself, I haven't claimed any of my deeds yet, just because to be honest, want to just be right front and center in the middle of the map. Just just so when you open that page, I just want you to see Brybro. That's all I want to see. So that's my pure reason. But others are going for specific sectors. Like I think the Badlands. People think that's going to be more like Earth style. Just if they have land more cards than the Earth Splinter, then they're hoping that that would add extra utility. I don't think any of that really you can't tell right now. Just because from like a team standpoint, none of that is even determined. Like they haven't thought that far just because they're not going to release anything like that until they actually develop it and implement it because a lot can change since then. So but yeah, getting back to your question, I don't once you can actually see what type of land you have, what resources you can kind of harvest from it, what rarity it all is, I think that's when people can actually start making like strategies. What resources are they going to just focus on? Again, not everyone, majority of people aren't going to be able to harvest every single resource. There's going to be a lot of trading or using a lot of the pools that people throw resources into. So that's I only then I think you can really kind of start that strategy process. Until then, like I keep mentioning, I think saving DEC is going to be huge. I think that there's going to be like an unlimited amount that you're probably going to need if you want to fully maximize your plots, and then land workers are the other big ones in my mind.
Yeah. So, I'm just wondering then, like you said at the beginning, like you didn't have any like vision, like when you were initially buying it, but like now, like what's your long-term goal? Like once it gets up and running, what are you going to be focused on doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I don't foresee myself playing the actual battle part anymore. I think it's just going to be all part managing resources, depending on, or like deciding if I want to craft items and spells, sell those, rent them out. I mean, the whole renting aspect of land that's going to be a thing too, which I would definitely foresee myself take advantage of at the start because there's no way I'm going to be managing 2,000 plots on my own right off the bat for sure. I just think it's going to be gameplay in itself, and they're also it's not been like confirmed, but they also tease that they can land just opens up so many opportunities even for like the battle aspects of the game. Like I foresee it technically if you want to join a tournament. Maybe you can have like an actual arena built on your land. And if you want to host a tournament, you host it right there in your arena. People have to travel into it, pay you, the entry cost, stuff like that. I mean, I think there's so many aspects that they could technically just build on top of it and just make the game a lot more like appealing or um, just make new kind of game modes. I don't know. I think the opportunities are endless, and that's why I kind of they didn't really paint that picture at the start. When they first did the pre-sale or was in game. The main reason why I bought it was just because people like at the time were saying, it's about to sell out. Once something sells out in game, price is only going to go up. So I'm like, all right, that's all I need to hear. So that's when I jumped in. The vision was small, like I said. But now just like seeing, the growth that the games has, how much that's kind of like decreased since then. I think land is what's really going to take this game to the next level, and I think it's going to be like the next step to attracting to like different user bases.
Awesome. I couldn't help but notice and kind of chuckle to myself a little bit. I saw your YouTube channel. I think the icon is the Monopoly Man. Is that a little bit of insight into the future of Brybro's lands? Is Park Place and Broadway? We're going to be seeing some high rise hotels with some fancy tickets there.
I love that. So that's been a self like proclaimed nickname. I think once I joined Discord, I saw I think it was Neil McSpadden. He had like a nickname, something about like two castles, something. I know Matt Clark. He has a two castle nickname. So I'm like, I kind of got to join in. I got to let people know, I got two castles too, but I can't be on the same level as them. They're like OGs. I'm not an OG. So, um, that's when I ended up just kind of taking the nickname of Mr. Monopoly and kind of rolling with it ever since. But
Nice.
again, that's kind of when I want to claim my land like on the map. I do. I just want it to be kind of right in the middle. First eye, like the first thing you see is just because they mentioned that you should be able to name like your regions. And I'm curious if you have like more than one, if it kind of blends in, or I guess you can name them differently. I don't know. But again, that's just another future iteration that's probably coming later down the road.
Do we have any insight into what the names are going to be?
I have no clue, to be honest.
No
I
clue.
haven't thought that far beyond all the other land preparation. That one, I think, that's on the backlog for now.
Yeah, I think you got plenty of time there.
Yeah.
I wonder, like you mentioned about renting out your or like building arenas to host tournaments, and yeah, I just wonder down the line what like other in-game games we're gonna be having. I saw Sandbox. They had this big competition. It's like for 3 years to for people to develop in-game games. So I just wonder if Splinterlands would do something like that, like they would have a competition because they're so open. They've been open in the past for people designing summoners, boss fights. I just wonder if that's something down the line that they would do.
Well, I think you touched on, I mean, boss fights, that's something that's kind of gone unnoticed. I'm not sure many people even know what that is, but I think that's gonna be the biggest one. I think that's gonna be like the first instance of PvE into the game. So whether they do some type of like campaign mode, quests, stuff like that, I think that's where boss monsters are gonna come into play. And no clue, how it's gonna reward players or whatnot, but that's just such an easy solution. Because right now, I think what the game is lacking is, like as a new player, you get into the game and you're just battling other players right off the bat. Right now, for the most part, that's bots that are, they're basically built to beat you. So you're probably going to lose your first 20 games, and that's not really going to sit well with new players. No one's going to like a game when they lose and it's like, all right, this isn't fun. So I'm really hoping that that's where, boss monsters, boss fights really come in, and that it adds more of like that campaign aspect to really teach you, how to play the game first. And then once you get past that, then you should be a little bit better set up for playing against actual players, or I guess continuing on having harder modes. I don't know. Again, I think there's just so much they can do. It's kind of sad though that the actual land gameplay in terms of harvesting resources and stuff probably won't be until the end of next year.
Mm.
Which is I feel like that's what their priority should be, but who knows? Maybe, as more and more development comes on, and they start seeing how big land, like, how big it'll be, where it'll take the game. Maybe they'll add a little bit more resources to it, but it's not
Yeah,
really
well,
our fight.
Matt did say that is their priority right now. That's one of their top priorities. So hopefully, yeah, that's going to be true. Yeah, I was listening to one of your streams with Cryptomancer and talking about in-game games. He had a really good idea for like Dungeons and Dragons type game. I'd love him to kind of get behind one of these kind of mechanics of the game. Also, I'm really interested in or excited about the guild's participation because in YGG they were talking about banding together and just everyone claiming their plots at the same time. So I'm really interested down the line how that would pan out, especially if it in terms of like trading, going on these missions together, traveling.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't agree more. So there's been a few people I've already noticed just through like Discord. A lot of guilds are kind of planning, like you mentioned with YGG, of opening their plots together, which I think that would be such a cool like map enhancement. If not only could you see, who owns what, but if it's guilds together, just having like, like different color like borders, be like, all right, this is all like YGG. I know like Legendary Dragons or Matt Clark, he said his guild is looking to claim like 4 to 5 regions together, all in the same place. And it'd be kind of cool again to look at the map and see, I'd be like, all right, the big name guilds that now, you'll see them right there on the map and be like, oh wow, they have a huge like share of one region, or like a sector of the map. So I do think that's coming fairly soon as well. what else did you touch on there? Oh, the whole guild aspect. I do think it's curious because I didn't listen to the whole town hall, but I think something was mentioned, a little off topic, but like Rooney. I saw somewhere that like if a guild owns more than like 30 plus Roonies, there's going to be some type of benefit or utility. I'm not sure exactly what that would be or if that's exactly true. But I could easily see something where they build on top of that, where I don't know, if you own a certain amount of land within a guild, there could be extra guild bonuses possibly. I'm hoping there's going to be like a whole new building for guilds, just as like another DEC sync. I think of like an easy storage building. If your whole guild contributes into upgrading like a storage, then that could like increase your like default amount of availability for certain resources. I could see that being an easy one, but there'll definitely be some ways that they build guild into it. Unfortunately, right now it's all kind of what we can predict or anticipate.
I'm gathering from the way that this process is kind of panning out, and the conversations that the leadership team has been having with the community, and I'm sure internally as well. And like Wasco said, we had Cryptomancer on, I guess a month or two ago, and he was talking about something maybe along the lines of like a scavenger hunt where the alliance bands together, the guilds band together, and go on this hunt, or something like a digital escape room. You're placed in a dungeon and tasked with finding these clues, and just the implications for what land could be. It's huge, right? And if the escape room is sponsored by, gosh, who knows, Milwaukee's Tools or Budweiser, or sure. I just feel like it just starts to open up so many different levels of what this game could be. And yeah, I just hope that we continue to look at land as a very iterative process. It can't be one and done, and it's unfortunate, like you said, that we're a good year away from seeing what that initial rollout is going to look like. But
yep.
It is certainly exciting to think about. If we have these ideas without having ever seen land, what ideas are going to come once land is actually you can step foot on it, sort of thing. Exciting stuff, man.
Yeah, and I'll go back, Wasco. You've asked, when I first bought land, what the vision was compared to the vision of land now. I mean, that kind of right off the bat, at least the team's vision, I know was they're gonna release land's gonna produce resources. You use resources to craft items and spells, and those items and spells are used in battles. Done. Like that was it. Nothing. There's no other talk of I guess boss monsters. Those rights were sold at the Kickstarter, so I think maybe they had a vision of that. I don't know if that was going to be like necessarily mixed into land. But everything that you just what your discussion with Cryptomancer, like none of that was really thought of at the time of when they minted all the land. So I think that's the craziest. That was kind of why I wanted to start my stream, was to just start talking what those possibilities could be, just to get the hype back in, because we've been waiting for like 2 years now. 2 years, yeah. And it's going to be even more until we can actually start using it. But I think through all like our talk, the team's finally taking notice of it, and I think they're building on top of the ideals that the whole community's had and shared. And I think that's also what makes this game so great in the team itself. So if community can continue just discussing openly and presenting these great ideals, I mean, it's just going to add more and more value to land. I think Splinterlands is really going to be known just for land within the next year. I think that's like people are going to come in, and I think that's going to be like the main gameplay or main aspect of the game that they're really going to tune in. And then the whole actual like battling part, it's not going to be really just, I don't know. I don't see it as much of, going right into ranked play. I think it's just going to be mainly lane gameplay, and then you'll venture out from there.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, isn't it? I wonder like how those new players then that are going to be entering the game, they're going to want a piece of land, right? Just to work, because that's what Matt said, right? That's like the end goal is just to produce assets for players to play in this game. So, like you say, man, it's going to be really interesting. And possibly like people like you're going to be there. You're ready with land, right, to rent out. And that's my other question. I wonder. I suppose it's just going to be like Matt said, it's like a real business, right? You've got this land that you want, you're going to rent out, but also you don't want any bum just to come along and just rent it out.
Squat. No squatters. You got to post some signs, Brybro. No squatters. Squatters will be shot.
Yeah, like I wonder how that's going to work. Are you like a landowner's going to like have some like contract written out? Like you've got to produce this much stone to kind of keep this land going. I wonder how have you kind of thought along those lines?
So for rentals, I foresee it being kind of like bare bones right off the bat, and I think it's gonna be very similar to how card rentals will be. Um, so I guess the basics are it's just to be the same thing. You look at a certain type of land that you want on the rental market, and you just decide if you want to rent it. I think it's going to be again like 24-hour contracts, and I think the owner is going to list it for a certain price, and you're intaking that DEC per day for that price, and you can cancel it whenever, change the price whenever, but that contract won't end until that full 24 hours is up. Me personally, I think that's just how it's going to be at the start, because I mean they already have the framework done with cards. It's just a matter of kind of expanding it onto all these different land types and rarities. I know a lot of people were mentioning it'd be cool because adding buildings on top of that kind of creates like another layer to it. I don't think renters will be able to, upgrade their buildings in any way. I think you'll just rent whatever is already on there, and that's just how it is. To me, I think that's the easiest because I wouldn't want renters. I guess I would want people upgrading my buildings because then if I take it back, then it's all mine. But that just doesn't make sense. I don't see that happening. So I think that's just going to be the basics of it. It would be cool if you could do, even more than 24-hour contracts, like say a whole season rental. I know that's been teased with the cards, but we haven't had that. But in different aspects like that, because yeah, I mean, I wouldn't if I don't have to worry about a certain amount of plots for like a whole month. That'd be kind of nice. Be like consistent revenue coming in. They can do whatever they want. Maybe if they do allow buildings to be upgraded for those longer period contracts, and that's something that would make a little bit more sense. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that. I think that's again where the whole business does come into it, because I do foresee I'll probably be renting at least like one region out right at the start. Because there's, like I said, there's no way just learning all about, what resources I should target, what items and spells I should be crafting off the bat, what workers I should be using. I mean, that's going to take like a whole month. I'm probably going to take off my full-time job a week just to fully understand and, have a plan and roll it out. So, that's how that's going to be. And then, yeah, I mean, renting is just going to add a whole nother income to help me continue building upon what I have. And I think renting is such a cool part of the game too. Because like you mentioned, not everyone's going to be able to have a piece of land or afford one. So if you can rent it for, just pennies for even a single day, at least it allows them to feel like they're still, participating in that type of gameplay.
Well, I wonder if, a couple of things are kind of popping into my mind. One, given the struggles that Airbnb has seen in the last 6-12 months, I wonder if if there's any employees at Airbnb listening, maybe you should pitch to the leadership team. There's plenty of lands with plenty of property to be managed in Splinterlands. I think one of the coolest things about Splinterlands, that's been a direct byproduct of the community is all the third-party tools that have come in. We've got stuff like Splex and Peak Monsters, and now there's different layers to the game being added, like Splinter Forge, and the list goes on and on. I wonder if we're going to be seeing some property management type businesses or forks to current third party offerings that you kind of manage rentals, offer leases, short and long term leases, manage contracts. Because if I were you and I was overseeing 2,000 plus plots of land, obviously it's in my best interest to make sure that that's managed as effectively and as efficiently as possible. And it feels like that's a really good opportunity for somebody who, maybe has a history of understanding what property management looks like can be applied into this digital marketplace.
Yeah, right when you mentioned like Airbnb, the first thing I thought of was like third party markets because there's always going to be like a new competitor out there, and I think Pig Monsters, Splex, I think they're like the most active ones right now. I wouldn't be surprised if like Nifty Arcade, that's the new platform for like renting out um, full decks, or in the terms like they're kind of off. It's like a scholar program, but then you can basically get rewards, split the rewards like automatically as they're playing. As season rewards come out. So there's no doubts one of them, if not multiple, are going to be building a platform to maybe enhance the process. So even if contracts are 24 hours, you use their platform and they can kind of guarantee monthly um, leases. I have no clue, but I'm hoping I'm hoping there's definitely something, as long as the APIs allow them to contribute in that aspect. They'll build something. I just hope. Ideally, it'd be nice if they had something before land gameplay was released, because then it wouldn't be as much manual going into the game. But no, I bet you within a week or 2 weeks, there'll be something on like Peak Monsters and Splex in terms of at least helping you manage what's on a rental, what's on the market. I just don't know visually how easy that's going to be for them. So hopefully they're thinking about it. But
I
I
think
think they have a lot of things going right now too.
I can imagine that people are just on it already, right? I think, and possibly a good thing for the people who are thinking about doing it, they've got close to a year to get things
Yeah.
sorted.
So they're
So
probably hoping it takes even longer, but
another proponent of the game people might not be aware of is like totems and the workers that are going to be needed to produce these materials. And another reason why it's important is because it feels like they're going to be really important in ranked battles. You're going to have, submit your teams and then have the opportunity to play a potion. What was your strategy for building up your workers? I know because nothing's set in stone. We've heard, I think the common theme is like to have a common, a rare, an epic, and a legendary with a summoner as well. That's for your workers. And totems, it's still a bit up in the air. I know they're going to help produce magical potions, but everything's still not been set in stone for obvious reasons. So, what is your strategy in terms of totems and workers?
sure. This is a big one because it like you mentioned, it is up in the air, and I think it's gonna be up in the air for a while because it's not really a priority right now. But the way I see totems and the way they released like their initial post about totems when they first minted them and released them is that they make it seem that like totems are gonna have a very specific use case. It's not going to just be, like put this on any plot and it's going to increase productivity by 10%. I think it's going to be like this common totem can only be used on like a jungle or like a forest plot. Um, and it will only increase, harvesting by 5%. I think it's to be very, very specific to like the type of land, potentially the type of resource that you're harvesting. And that's going to open up like so many variety of like token utility or totem utility. So that's why I've been trying to like get as many as possible because I think totems are going to be kind of like a whole different market depending on what plot and type of land that you own. Like if you own a totem that only works for forest, but you don't have any, forest type of lands, and you're going to be looking to trade that or sell it and get something that's more specific to your type of plot. So that's where I think there could be a lot of like value in totems if you reveal something that super rare, or people are seeking for. There could be a lot of value into that. But again, it's subject to change. They haven't released any guarantee with that. All we know is that totems are in some way, shape, or form, they're gonna provide some type of like boost to your plot. So I'm not all into totems currently, just because again, so only half of the supply has been released. The other half is somehow going to be released with land gameplay. So whether that's like when you're actually working the land or when you survey it, I have no clue. But all I know is, the other half is still yet to be released. So that's why I'm not really, I mean, I think price is potentially going to stay the same, or I'll be able to just gain more as I work my land. I think that's like an area where I can just build up. But I've been buying totems every now and then when the price is right. Obviously, I'd like as many legendary totems as I can, just because those are like the rarest. But between like common and like epics, those are the ones I've been keeping my eye on, just because like commons, for instance, just kind of like common land. I think there's going to be certain common rarities that are going to be worth the same amount as potentially like a rarity of a certain resource, just because it may be a type of land that's just, it may be a common type of land, but it'll be a type of land that's like very scarce and just like the whole continent. So you just got to be wary, especially when you can survey your land. I think a lot of people will just misinterpret and see, like, oh, I got a common land. I'm going to sell this for the same price of all the other common lands. And that's where I'm going to probably just be watching what goes on sale, because I don't think the type of resources are going to really be distributed equally. I think there's definitely going to be some resources that are going to be much rarer than other ones. And even common types of land with those resources, I'm probably going to try to scoop up as many as I could, because that's just the whole market's going to market.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, and I think maybe the closest tangible kind of analogy is you look at the common set of cards in Chaos Legion. You have something like a hardy stonefish, which has its place, but then you have something like a deep lurker, which is
Yep.
if you're playing water, it's going to be in your lineup. It's got the value of arguably at least a rare, possibly an epic. It's a great card. It's super versatile, and I think the same could be applied to land. Right? You could be a common land that's just producing a resource that is required by the vast majority of end products, right, or something like that. That's single-handedly going to spike the price of that common land. So, yeah, like you, man, I'm expecting prices. Once surveying takes place, I'm expecting that the kind of the bottom to fall out of that. Land is currently trading at $180. I'm hoping that price takes a little bit of a significant dip when disappointment hits and people are turning over all sorts of commons. And I 100% planning on striking while the getting's good, and hopefully getting a few more plots that fall under that triple digit mark.
See, I've always been one. I don't see plots, going below 100 at the minimum. But a lot of people kind of anticipated that prices right now would fall, just because all those like group buys, region buys and track buys that were part of a group, they were finally able to split that tract or region into individual plots and then send those out to all those participants in the groups. So a lot of people were like, people are going to sell because they finally can get their hands on their plots, and it's worth more than what they bought it by, like 10 times at least. So people are going to sell, but yet, the past couple of days, plots went from 150, or they're like a 130, I think, before 0.5 was even released to be, or was announced to be released, and then now, like you mentioned, they're at 180. So I don't think they're going to fall below 200. I don't think plots are going to be below 200. leading up to the surveying, just because there's a whole rumor of, there's going to be land potions now. Apparently, if you want to survey your land and you want to just increase your chances for like higher rarities, then these land potions are going to be what you want to, what you want to buy beforehand. So I think just through all that value, like just going into that, I don't know. I don't think if people are dumb enough to sell for cheap just because they got like a common land, I think that time has passed. Because once we just get to that point, I think the amount of hype we're gonna have, because like that's the next step until land gameplay, or the next big step. And like the very first question I think you asked me is, what's the next step for people to finally like rally in? And like I said, I think that's when you're going to actually be able to strategize what type of market you're going to corner in terms of resources, or what you're going to do. So I don't think, I don't know. Like, I don't think land will be below $200 for much longer. Maybe for another month or so until we actually get news of 1.0 coming around the corner. But once that's out, I think every week we're just going to get more, it's town halls are just going to have a weekly coverage of land. And I think hype, we're in crypto, so hype is going to basically carry the price. And maybe it will fall for a little amount, but I'm not planning on selling below that.
I think also there were people, as I mentioned before, who came in a little bit later and bought at premium cost. They're not going to be selling theirs anytime soon unless they're ready to take a big loss. Like I can imagine, like it would be interesting to know the percentage of people who bought land, or the number of plots that went out at that time. Like we're talking like around October 21, November 21, something around there. That was like the peak, right?
Yeah, I honestly don't think it was like that much, or as much as people may think. Because I think that's what's kind of led to land plots being still kind of highly valued compared to what the original price was because, even during that time, I don't think a lot of people sold what they had bought, because I think everyone's kind of stuck, diamond hands, people will call it. I think everyone's stuck to, like the vision and how great land's going to be. They didn't want to sell because they didn't know if the price would continue going higher, or if it would drop. And so I think that's, again, anytime people have been saying that once people could split up their tracks and regions, that we're going to see a dip. I always argued, I'm like, I don't think so. I think everyone has these diamond hands in that, just because you can split your region and tracks, everyone's still, for the long term. And I think right now we're at the very bottom. I don't see prices really dipping any longer. And yeah, unfortunately for those that did buy in at that time, I don't foresee us being too far away from that. Once land comes back, even if the value of like a single plot may not reach that, I just think the value from actually working it, and utilizing it, you'll eventually get your money back. It's just the whole point of the game.
Well, what about real quickly, Wasco? So there, I think it was about a year ago, and I saw this come up a couple of days ago. Somebody sold a region for $750,000. Brybro, are you talking to that guy in terms of you'll get your money back?
I mean, okay, there's certain sales, potentially, and that's the thing. Like even at that time, everyone kept asking, those who had regions what they would sell it for, and I always kept saying, I'll sell one, I'll let one go for $1 million, because that's where I actually thought the value was at the time. And it's funny because we ran into that. The growth was just last year, and at the time it seemed like regions could easily be valued for over $1 million, because plots were roughly just around 1,000 at the time. And then if you take in consideration, regions all together, and you're guaranteed a castle and 9 tracks or keeps, then obviously there should be more value for a region compared to just 1,000 plots in general. So again, I think once we get into the gameplay and we start seeing, the type of value that a whole region will actually produce, I don't know. I don't know if we'll see those numbers again. I don't know if that will be the bottom that we see. I know that there's only one region that sold for that amount. I think the biggest sales were one went for like 300,000 on the way up, and then that one I think was the highest one. I think those were kind of the only two regions that really sold during that whole time span. Again, I know like liquidity is the biggest issue. You know, you don't have too many people with just that amount of money looking to invest into a game or into an asset that they don't even know when it's going to be released. But um, there's no saying where this game will go or where this asset's going to go.
Yeah, I think just long term. If you think about it long term, even I spent what people would describe as a lot of money for one plot, but like for me,
That's what they say now, Wasco.
yeah,
Wait 12 months, bro.
well, 12 years. Well, maybe like, but I'm just thinking, and this is why you FOMO'd in as well, Brybro. There's only 150,000, is that right? 150,000 plots. So
Yep.
that number's not going to rise. Of course, they might open up other lands in different areas, but Pretoria is only 150,000, and that's the thing that just made me FOMO, made you FOMO, and made a lot of people FOMO, because at that time people were saying, because I just believed and I knew how important and beneficial it would be to me, and like not beneficial to the game, but beneficial for me long term. So yeah, that's the reason why I did it. But like if you look like Sandbox as well, they're selling regular plots for I think just under $500 at the moment. They've got like a sale going on, and I think their legendary one, oh sorry, premium one is selling for like 2,000 US as well. So I think it's like this is just what is happening, man. It's like just what happening in the whole cryptoverse. People are just realizing the value. Like you mentioned before, the like opening up arenas. Like people also just have got so many ideas that just like it's just that the realms of possibility are just endless, right?
Yeah. Well, I think just to cover the basics too. So you mentioned there's only 150,000. I mean, we have more daily active users than that just to begin with. You can argue that probably 75% of that total daily active users are bots. But anyways, I mean, you're still just that amount of like plots. It's going to take so long to even produce all those resources, items, and spells to really cover that many daily active users just at our current time. And there's going to be like a period of time before we even get to that part, but that's not like accounting for any new user growth. There's no telling what, how big the game could grow since then, or it could fall off too. Who knows? But that's like the biggest thing is that there's not a plot for every single person in general. I think that was one of the biggest, selling points at the time is that just even owning one plot, you're kind of at an advantage of anyone else. So that's never going to change, like you mentioned. I mean, there's technically less than 150,000 because between like the land pre-sale, they had a raffle, and between people just unfortunately losing their keys, you know, passing on. I don't know. It's kind of technically going to diminish from there. And so that is just the one asset that's really never going to change. And like we keep talking, there's just going to be a lot of different opportunities. And like I keep thinking, just the amount of resources in general, I think you'll be able to just sell or trade or do whatever you need to just get back that original investment, no matter how much you paid. It's just a matter of just taking the time and seeing the long term for it.
I think also for me, it's just, yeah, I spent that money, but also I'm just really looking forward just like, like when I come home in the evenings, just like pottering around with like organizing a few things. I actually, one of the great things I enjoy about the current game is just like leveling up my deck and just like looking at this card, looking at that card. And
Mm-hmm.
just so the whole mechanics of land is something that really I'm just really excited about like doing. I'm sure that's something you're
Oh
looking
yeah.
forward
Well,
to.
No, see, I wish I could share that same type of excitement just because that's when I started the game. I was just at the point I cracked 100 packs. I had like a start of leveling up cards. And then every day it was just like, all right, what card can I level up to the next level? Which one should I prioritize? I was looking at deals all the time, just trying to just build my way up to the very top. Once you get to the top, though, it's just kind of like, all right, what else is there to do? I think that's really what
Mm,
like this game appeals is that uh, a lot of people want to get to the top, but the whole like fun to the game is kind of working your way there, not going there in one day. It's taking a few weeks, months, a year, whatever it is. I think that's what really makes the game what it is, and that's like the different. When I was in a few different guilds, and just I think the best conversations are those that are looking to help take their deck to the next level, and just seeing that type of conversation. That's really like the excitement that I like to really take part in. And so I think land is definitely going to be. I think our excitement is going to be a little bit different, just because that's exactly what you can do. Like you can probably look at like, all right, if you don't have a max summoner, max workers for your plot, I mean, that's an area that you could look into developing. You could look into what building you want to upgrade to. If you can do multiple buildings, that's a whole different aspect to it. Or you can just look into looking for more land, renting out land, trading resources. I mean, there's just gonna be so much. Whereas for me, it's just gonna be like, all right, I don't really know even what I'm gonna do, and I don't want to brag at all. Like that's not where I'm trying to come off as, but I just looking at it, I don't even know where I'll start, to be honest. And that's why right now I'm just trying to prepare as much as I can, and once the day comes, it'll just be a matter of taking it one step at a time, and
mm.
just it's gonna be a lot of experimenting, see what works, what doesn't, and going from there.
I think that's you touched on a couple of things there, Brybro, that I want to kind of reiterate. And the beauty of the community, I think, is you talk to 10 different people, you'll probably get 10 different answers as to why you play the game. Right? Like
Mhm.
why are you in this ecosystem? Why are you here? Some people are here for brawls and guilds. Some people are here because they love the video game. Some people are here to, manage 2,000 plus plots of land. Some people are here to, just for the challenge and to make friends. And I love that aspect about the game. I'm curious. So you mentioned like once you reach the top of ranked battles, like where do you go from there? And that kind of struck a chord with me with what Matt said. Has kind of been his driving logic for soulbound reward cards. Do you kind of foresee that maybe slowly reeling you back into ranked? Do you feel like your ranked days are behind you? What's kind of been your response to that?
I would probably say my rank days are behind me for the most part. Again, I do have a gold foil deck that I'm in a guild I do brawls with. I still kind of like that competitive aspect of the game where like the tournaments, gold foil tournaments are kind of like the biggest payouts. That's why I still try to keep up with that deck. And then brawls, that's kind of like the most in demand type of deck for filling those frays for like the guild on min. So I'll still play every now and then. Ranked it's not the same anymore. And that's where I mean between tournaments and brawls, I'll probably just fill those in and then rent out the rest of the way. Because it's just what it is. I think just land preparation right now is um the biggest priority for me. But yeah, I mean, and other than that, I think it's just going to be kind of monitoring all the different types of land that I have, and um, going from there. I mean, there's definitely going to be a lot of progression. I mean, even having so many plots as I do, there's no way I'm gonna maximize that within like a year or two. I don't think that's possible. I don't plan on keeping that much land either. There's definitely, again, I think right now we're at the very bottom of land or near the bottom, and I think once we start getting to where we get weekly news on land, I think the hype's going to take it from there. If we run into a bull market, prices are just going to go on. And so it's just, I'll eventually probably take in my like investment back. And there's like, I don't know, as much as I love land, I mean, I think there's a certain point too where you got to be comfortable with taking some profit out. And so there's no doubt I'll be selling. That's why I bought a lot recently when plots were, around 130s, because I see that changing pretty soon. And it's just, to me, it's an easy flip. And we'll take it from there. But there's going to be a lot of progression, and that's where I think a lot of the excitement's going to be. Is like, I personally want to focus on all my legendary plots first. Who knows? I think I have around like 30 max summoners right now, just stockpiled, just trying to accumulate those, and less max monsters. But that's like the first thing I want to do is I want to, have max land workers for every legendary plot. Totems will probably be the next thing, is, depending on what the totem utility is, I'm trying to focus on that, and I'll work my way down to like, the lower rarities. So epics next, rares next. That's just going to be a lot.
Well, we'll certainly be keeping our eye on the crypto news feeds for when Brybro sells that region for $1 million over the next 6-12 months. Yeah, super exciting stuff, man. We as Wasco alluded to earlier, we had Matt Clark on a little while ago, and he was mentioning something similar to you, in that rank days are more than likely going to be kind of a thing in the past for him, just because land management is going to be so front and center. And he's planning on doing potentially with Splinterlands TV, doing some land management stream. Is that something that you foresee in your future? Is land management with Mr. Monopoly? That's got a little bit of a ring to it. Take a stroll through Park Place.
That was honestly the whole, like, when I started, I haven't streamed for a while, but the whole point of my stream was just to kind of talk land, because again, we were at the time where land was being neglected. So I wanted to try to keep the hype up. But I do think just kind of hearing from everyone discussing, now everyone's on Discord or on the different social platforms. And so just having a stream up there, people are interested and people talk land. You never know what you're going to hear, what, different ideals or opinions people have, or strategies. You may, like one of them and follow it. So that was the whole point of that. And I definitely foresee that. Because I've had a few of like the big top dogs between, you had Manser on, I think he has 3 regions himself. Matt Clark, Neil McSpadden, a lot of them have 2 regions. So just the whole point was to like kind of hear the perspective now compared to once land's actually released, and then just discussing, what they're going to be focusing on, what their strategies are. Because even with the, that amount of land, I think a lot of that can still be taken, with just a few single plots, and just seeing, what the big dogs are doing and how that could compare to, what some smaller, plot holders may be looking into. So I don't know. There's a lot, and I do want to get into streaming again, but I'm just kind of waiting for more information to actually try to talk strategy. That's the whole point. I want to try to share as much strategy as possible, because I don't see land being like as much of a monopoly. I think it's going to be more of like a community based type of economy and gameplay, where I'm not going to just keep, my ideas to myself or my strategy to myself, because I don't think it's really going to change that much. Maybe if more people are trying to capitalize on a certain resource that I'm going for, I mean, like, hey, that is what it is. I'm still going to be like earning as much as I expect to be. But I want it to be taken. I mean, the only way land's going to increase is if the community is valuing it at a higher price. So if everyone's, earning, then that's going to, make me earn just as much. And I think that's the whole aspect of it that's going to take it to the next level.
I wonder who's going to be the first to come in and try to found a homeowners association and like yell at your neighbor to mow your lawn and like pick that stuff up off the grass. Like no parking on the grass, guys.
You already see that a decent amount in like Discord, just between a single landholder or even more than that. They love kind of throwing things around like that, where you're making it just a little bit more like personable. And I think it'll be really interesting once you can kind of see who your neighbors are too, and just throw like little jabs at them and
keep off the grass.
Honestly, yeah. There's just gonna be like a whole kind of like new community built on top of that. It'll just be very interesting to see.
But yeah, like honestly, I've enjoyed your streams a lot. I've been like catching up, and yeah, like you said, you had Cryptomancer, Matt Clark, Aggie. Did you have Matt as well? Did I see Matt quite a while ago?
Yeah, I had Matt at one
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
I think he was just on for like 15 minutes or so, but
Ah,
it's always good to hear from Matt directly. I think he's kind of like the shepherd in a way, kind of guiding us. And anything he says, I'm always just like, I'm all on board. Let's do it.
yeah. So
um,
yeah, so sorry, I know we've kind of close to your time that you have to get off. So just let everyone know that your YouTube channel is Brybro. And if you guys want to check it out, he's got some great content from Land Barons, as we mentioned the names before. So have you got anything in the pipeline for that, or before we head off?
yeah, so I've been talking to like the main developer that was just on the recent town hall, that Farpatron.
Mm.
I knew him before too, just being part of the team. And so he's the one that's really leading the development. And so I think once we get a little closer to like 1.0, I'd love to have him on just because he is, the main guy that's in the back end really doing all the development for it. So I'd love to have him on next. And that's kind of been the theme to my streams, was having more of, big team members or big landholders. But again, the other part of it was I technically wanted to get, if you owned one single plot to, all 150,000, I wanted you at one point in time, like on my stream. Because I think, the biggest value is just sharing all those different perspectives that people have on land. And then depending on what your land holding size is, then you can kind of determine what strategy or perspective you want to follow. So I 1.0, I'll probably have a stream coming up every now, probably early next year once we get closer to that. But then once we actually get, close to like gameplay, the whole vision was to have it weekly. And that's, I'd love to, you guys hold land. I'd love to have you guys on, just talk, what your perspective is, what you're looking to do. Just
Love
kind of
to.
exactly what we did here, but more of like actual details, because hopefully we'll have details then. But yeah, so I appreciate you shouting that out. But yeah, I mean, other than that, we've talked a lot of great information on land. Again, a lot of it right now is just um, subject to change, or kind of what we think it's going to be. Um, I'm still looking to accumulate, to be honest. We didn't really get into the whole revealing on the map, but like right now, I'll definitely do my two regions together. My two tracks I want to just do separate. I don't think there's really any value into doing those together as well. Just I want to try to cover a little bit more area than what my two regions may cover. And then my 100 plots, I was actually deciding whether it's splitting those up into like 5 plots into like what is that, 20 different tracks in a way, just again to cover more area. But I think I'm going to go down the road of revealing that all together just to guarantee another keep, because those are going to be super useful. But yeah, I
You
mean,
should
once
stream
we,
that as well, man, if you can.
well, that means that would have to be soon. I don't know about that. But no, I mean, different aspects of that. And I mean, right now, the whole land turning deeds into claims, it's been really slow, because right now I think we're only on, pulling it up right now.
Yeah,
Next
just
available
checked
regions
18.
like 18. Yeah. So it's been over a day. And this is going to be like an interesting kind of, to me, it's like entertainment. It's, how long is it going to be until people actually get to, region like 60, for instance? I think we're like a week out, even more so. I don't think, this could take like a month, more than a month, until we get closer to surveying for people to finally fill it out, which is interesting. Which that's a whole nother debate on whether they should have kind of threw in more randomization into it or not. But yeah, I don't know. But I do want to get my stream up and going. Again, I think just any type of discussion on land is always super valuable, and so yeah, I love the whole time that we've had here, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, Brybro, glad we could make it happen, man. Yeah, like Wasco said, we've been trying to make this happen for a while, and I think the stars aligned to where it was meant to be today, immediately on the heels of zero point 0.5. And yeah, definitely appreciate you taking the time and hopping on and talking shop with us. We look forward to kind of watching things unveil themselves over the next couple of months. Hopefully, next time we touch base with you, we've got some cool survey details that have come out by that point, and yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say as well, yeah, thank you for coming on, man. I love talking to you about land. I love talking about land. I'm really excited about land. And I really like the stream because you're very specifically focused on land. I think that's kind of a very niche way to have your channel. So yeah, good luck with that. And I will be checking you out for sure. So for everyone out there, you have been listening to
People's Guild.